The Vanishing Archives Commander Elena Vasquez floated through the zero-gravity corridors of the Galactic Archive Station, her magnetic boots deactivated to move faster. Something was terribly wrong. The automated alert had woken her at 3 in the morning, ship time, and what she discovered made her blood run cold. Entire sections of humanity's contributions to galactic civilization were disappearing from the central database. She pushed off from a bulkhead and grabbed the entrance, framed to Archive Room 7. Inside, holographic displays flickered with corrupted data streams, where detailed records of humanity's first faster-than-light engine should have been. Only static remained. The cure for Andromedan plague that saved 3 species from extinction had vanished. Even the cultural exchanges that brought peace to the Vegan system were gone, as if they never existed. Elena activated her neural implant and connected directly to the archive's quantum processors. The deletions weren't random or accidental. They followed a pattern, systematically removing every positive human achievement, while leaving records of conflicts and mistakes untouched. Someone wanted the galaxy to remember humanity as nothing, more than primitive warmongers. The door behind her hissed open. Elena spun around, hand instinctively moving to her sidearm, but relaxed when she saw who entered. Crixtel, the station's senior archivist, floated in. The tall, crystalline being's form refracted the dim emergency lighting into rainbow patterns across the walls. Despite working together for 3 years, Elena still found the Zelathi's appearance mesmerizing. Crixtel's harmonics vibrated with distress, a sound Elena had learned to interpret as worry. The translation matrix in her implant converted the tones to words. Commander, you've seen it too. The erasure has accelerated. At this rate, humanity's positive contributions will be completely deleted within 72 hours. Elena pushed herself toward the main console. This isn't just data corruption, is it? Someone's doing this deliberately. The Zelathi's form, dimmed, a sign of agreement. I've traced the deletion commands. They originate from the highest levels of the Galactic Covenant. They're calling it the Purification Protocol. Crixtel paused, their crystalline surface rippling. Elena, they're not just erasing your history. They're preparing to erase your species. The weight of those words hit Elena like a meteor impact. The Galactic Covenant governed interactions between the 112 known spacefaring species. If they had turned against humanity, the situation was far worse than she imagined. Why? What triggered this? Crixtel floated closer, lowering their harmonic output to ensure privacy. 3 days ago, human scientists on Kepler Station made a breakthrough. They discovered how to harness zero-point energy efficiently. The amount of power one human ship could now generate would rival entire fleets. The Covenant's inner circle, particularly the Dominion races, see this as an existential threat. Elena felt rage building in her chest. Humanity had shared every major discovery freely with the galactic community for the past century. They had never used their innovations for conquest, only for the betterment of all species. So they're afraid of what we might do, not what we've actually done? Fear makes even the wise act foolishly, Crixtel replied. But there's more. I've detected anomalies in the quantum foam around the station. The Covenant has deployed erasers. Elena's blood turned to ice. Erasers were more myth than reality, supposedly beings that existed partially outside normal spacetime. Legend said they could alter reality itself, making people, places, and even entire civilizations cease to exist retroactively. If the Covenant had actually found a way to control them, humanity faced annihilation not just in the present but throughout history itself. We need to warn Earth Command, Elena said, already calculating the fastest communication routes. All quantum entanglement communicators have been severed, Crixtel informed her. The Sol system is isolated. No messages in or out. The Covenant is moving fast. Elena's mind raced through possibilities. They couldn't fight the entire Galactic Covenant, conventionally. But humans had always been good at unconventional solutions. Crixtel, are you willing to help us? This could mark you as a traitor to the Covenant. The Zelathi's form brightened significantly. Commander, I have studied history for 300 cycles. I know what happens when fear drives policy. You're Species has contributed more to galactic prosperity in 1 century than most have in millennia. I will not stand by while truth is murdered. Elena nodded, feeling a spark of hope. Then we need to build a team. Others who know the truth and are willing to fight for it. Who else on the station can we trust? Crixtel's harmonics shifted to what Elena recognized as contemplation. Chief Engineer Thozak has expressed concern about the deletions. She's Rulian, and her people have a deep cultural connection to preserving knowledge. Dr. Marcus Chen, from the human delegation, is obviously trustworthy. And surprisingly, Sub-Commander Vexlor of the Dominion Fleet has been questioning orders. Elena raised an eyebrow. A Dominion officer going against their own people was almost unheard of. The reptilian warriors prized loyalty above all else. You're sure about Vexlor? They came to me yesterday asking about historical precedents for the purification protocol. When I showed them there were none, that this violated every treaty and principle the Covenant was founded on, I saw something I'd never seen in a Dominion warrior before. Shame. Elena made her decision. Gather them, secretly. We meet in Maintenance Bay 4 in 1 hour. It's not monitored because of the radiation, shielding. She paused, then added, and Crixtel? Thank you. You're risking everything. The Zelathi's form shifted into patterns Elena had learned meant determination. Commander, in all my studies, I've found one constant truth. Those who erase history are always on the wrong side of it. An hour later, Elena stood in the cramped maintenance bay, surrounded by unlikely allies. Chief Engineer Thozak's 6 arms worked nervously, a sign of agitation in her species. The Rulian's compound eyes focused on Elena as she spoke in her clicking language, translated by everyone's implants. The quantum signatures are unmistakable. Erasers are already here, phase shifted just outside our reality. They're waiting for final authorization. Dr. Marcus Chen, the only other human present, looked haggard. The middle-aged scientist had been working non-stop since discovering the deletions. I've managed to create a backup of some data using quantum crystalline storage. It's primitive, but it can't be erased by conventional means. The problem is, we're talking about petabytes of information. I've barely saved a fraction. Sub-Commander Vexlor stood rigid in the corner, their scales shifting from green to a troubled orange. When they spoke, their voice carried the guttural tones of barely controlled emotion. My fleet commander has received orders to position for bombardment of 3 human colonies. They're to make it look like an accident. A solar flare redirection experiment gone wrong. The order came directly from the Covenant's inner council. Elena absorbed this information, her mind already forming plans. How long before they act? 47 hours, Vexlor replied. My honor demands I warn you. My people have a saying. The blade that strikes from shadow cuts deepest, but leaves the wielder's soul in darkness. I will not be part of this shadow war. Crixtel floated forward. I've discovered something in the deep archives. Files so old they predate the current data structure. The erasers aren't a new creation. They were used once before, 8,000 cycles ago, against a species called the Architects. No one remembers them now because the erasure was complete, but fragments remain, hidden in quantum noise patterns. What happened to the Architects? Chen asked, though his expression suggested he already feared the answer. They discovered something, a technology or truth that threatened the established order, so they were removed not just physically but from history itself. But here's what's important. They found a way to leave a message, encoded in the cosmic background radiation itself. It took me centuries to decode it, but the message is simple. We existed. We mattered. Remember us. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. The same fate awaited humanity unless they acted. Then we need to do more than just save our history. We need to make it indelible, something that can't be erased. Thozak's arms stopped their nervous movement. Commander, I might have an idea. The station's power core uses a contained singularity. If we could modulate its gravitational waves, we could encode information directly into space-time itself. The erasers work by manipulating quantum possibilities, but they can't change the fundamental structure of space. Chen's eyes widened with understanding. Gravitational wave encoding. It's brilliant. The waves would propagate at light speed in all directions. Even if they erased us, the message would already be spreading across the galaxy. What message would we send? Vexlor asked. Elena looked at each of her allies. Everything. Every human achievement they're trying to delete. Every life saved, every peace brokered, every discovery shared, but also the truth about what's happening here. Let the galaxy know that the Covenant would rather erase an entire species than face their own fears. But most importantly, she saw the connections. How humanity's reckless curiosity had led to discoveries that saved billions. How their refusal to accept impossible had opened new frontiers for everyone. How their stubborn belief that enemies could become friends had ended conflicts thought eternal. Stop this. The lead eraser's form was fragmenting, reality reasserting itself around it. You don't understand what you're unleashing. I understand perfectly, Elena replied. We're unleashing truth. Crixtel moved forward, their crystalline form now blazing with light. No, there's more. The architect's message, I've fully decoded it. They didn't just leave a warning. They left instructions. How to permanently prevent erasure. The Zalathi touched the main console, and new data flowed through the system. Ancient knowledge preserved in the cosmic background radiation for 8,000 cycles, merged with the human memory vault. The combination was exponential. Not just human history, but the suppressed histories of dozens of species the Covenant had edited or erased over millennia. The station's singularity pulsed faster, its gravitational waves now carrying an unstoppable flood of truth. Every receiving station in the galaxy would get the transmission simultaneously. Every quantum computer would process the data. Every conscious being with neural implants would know what had been hidden from them. The lead eraser made one last, desperate attempt. It reached for Elena, its non-existence trying to encompass her, but as it touched her, something unexpected happened. The eraser solidified, became real, became human in shape. What is happening to me? It asked, and for the first time, there was emotion in its voice. Fear. Elena understood instantly. The memory vault doesn't just contain our history, it contains our humanity, our capacity to feel, to doubt, to choose. You've been exposed to it. The former eraser looked at its now solid hands in wonder and horror. I can feel. I remember things that never happened to me. A child's laughter, the taste of bread, the warmth of sunlight on skin I never had. That's the human experience, Elena said softly. We're not perfect, we're messy and chaotic, and sometimes we fail. But we feel everything intensely, and we share those feelings. That's what the Covenant feared, not our technology, but our humanity spreading throughout the galaxy. Around them, the other erasers were undergoing similar transformations. As the memory vault's contents saturated local spacetime, they were forced to become real, to exist fully rather than partially, and in becoming real, they became vulnerable to the full spectrum of emotion and experience. Chen's voice was triumphant now. Commander, it's working. I'm receiving confirmations from across the galaxy. The suppressed histories are being restored. But more than that, species are remembering connections they'd forgotten. Alliances that were edited out. Friendships that were erased. The station shuddered more violently. Thozak's arms worked frantically. Commander, the singularity is destabilizing. We have perhaps 10 minutes before containment fails. Elena nodded. Can we evacuate? Negative. The gravitational distortions would tear any ship apart. Elena felt a strange peace settle over her. They had succeeded. Humanity's history would survive, and with it, the truth about the Covenant's actions. Then we finished the upload. Every last bit of data. Crixtel moved, closer to her. There is another way. The architect's final message. They found a method to encode consciousness itself into gravitational waves. We could survive, in a sense, become part of the message itself. All of us? Elena asked, looking at her team. All who choose to. Crixtel replied. Chen laughed, the sound carrying a mix of hysteria and joy. Become living history? Why not? It's the ultimate backup. Thozak's compound eyes reflected deep thought. My people believe death is just another transformation. This would be unprecedented, but worthy. Even the transformed erasers, still struggling with their new existence, nodded agreement. They had been fundamentally changed by their exposure to humanity. The fear and rigid order that had defined them was replaced by curiosity and wonder. Elena made her decision. Do it. Crixtel's form began to pulse in complex patterns, interfacing directly with the station's quantum computers. The architect's technology, hidden for millennia, activated. Elena felt herself being translated, not just her mind, but her essence, her experiences, her connections to others. As her physical form began to dissolve into pure information, Elena had a moment of perfect clarity. She could see the gravitational waves spreading across the galaxy, carrying their message. She could sense the reactions as beings on 1,000 worlds suddenly remembered the truth. The Covenant's inner council faced with undeniable evidence of their crimes. The Dominion fleet standing down, their honor demanding justice for Vexilor. Human colonies celebrating as their deleted achievements were restored. But most importantly, she saw the future. Not one where humanity dominated or was erased, but one where all species moved forward together, their differences celebrated rather than feared. The erasers had failed not because humanity was strong, but because truth once released could never be fully contained. In her last moment of individual consciousness before joining the eternal message spreading through space-time, Elena understood the final irony. The Covenant had tried to erase humanity from history. Instead, they had made humans and their allies into history itself, immortal, undeniable, and forever spreading the simple truth that diversity, creativity, and connection matter more than order and control. The Galactic Archive Station erupted in a controlled singularity collapse, its death birthing a new kind of life. The gravitational waves carried not just data, but consciousness, not just history, but hope. Across the galaxy, beings touched their neural implants in wonder as they felt the presence of the memory keepers, Elena, Chen, Crixtel, Thozak, and even the transformed erasers, whispering the stories that refused to be forgotten. The Covenant fell within days, not through violence, but through shame. The hidden histories revealed collaboration and friendship between species they had tried to keep apart, wars that had been manufactured, peace treaties that had been sabotaged, and through it all, humanity's stubborn insistence on seeing potential, friends where others saw only enemies. Earth received the transmission with joy and sorrow, joy that their history survived, sorrow for the heroes who had transformed themselves to preserve it. But as human scientists studied the gravitational waves, they made a discovery that turned sorrow to hope. The consciousness patterns weren't degrading. They were evolving, learning, growing. Elena and her team weren't gone. They had become something new. Children across human space began to report dreams where friendly voices told them stories of cooperation and courage. Scientists found solutions to impossible problems after meditation sessions, where they felt guided by invisible colleagues. Artists created works of transcendent beauty, claiming inspiration from whispers in the cosmic background radiation. Crixtel's form pulsed with what Elena recognized as excitement. It could work, but encoding that much information would require massive amounts of power. We'd need to override every safety protocol. The station would be destroyed, Thozak added quietly. Silence fell over the group. They all understood what that meant. This would be a one-way mission. Elena broke the silence. I'm not asking anyone to die for humanity, but I am asking you to stand for truth. If we do nothing, my species disappears, and the Covenant continues to rule through fear. How many other species will they erase when they become inconvenient? One by one, each member of the group expressed their commitment. Chen was first, naturally. Crixtel's harmonics rang with resolve. Thozak's 6 arms formed a Rulian gesture of binding oath. Even Vexilor, struggling against a lifetime of conditioning, placed their clawed hand over their primary heart. in the Dominion Pledge of Alliance. Then we have work to do, Elena said. Chen, continue backing up what you can. Focus on the most important discoveries and cultural works. Thozak, start preparing the power core. Make it look like routine maintenance. Vexillor, we need you to delay your fleet. Can you create a distraction? The Dominion warrior's scales shifted to a deep purple Elena had never seen before. I'll challenge my commander to ritual combat. Question their honor regarding these orders. It will create chaos and buy you time. Win or lose, the fleet will be paralyzed by protocol for at least 10 hours. That's a death sentence if you lose. Elena pointed out, perhaps. But a death with honor is preferable to a life with shame. As the group prepared to disperse, Crixtel approached Elena privately. Commander, there's something else. I've detected unusual quantum signatures around you specifically. The erasers aren't just here to delete data. They're here for you. Me? Why? You're not just any human officer. You're the one who brokered the peace between the Altarians and the Vegan Confederacy. You saved the Zalathi homeworld from the crystalline plague. You're a living symbol of humanity's positive impact. If they erase you personally, it becomes easier to rewrite history. Elena felt the weight of destiny settling on her shoulders. Then we'd better make sure they fail. The memory keepers. The attack came sooner than expected. Elena was deep in the station's core, helping Thozak reconfigure the gravitational wave generators when reality itself seemed to hiccup. One moment she was holding a quantum spanner. The next, the tool had never existed. The erasers had begun their work. Everyone, group together, Elena shouted through the comm. Don't let them isolate you. Chen's voice crackled back, distorted by quantum interference. Commander, I'm in Archive 7. The backup crystals they're fighting back. The erasers can't delete them. Elena exchanged glances with Thozak. The Rulian's compound eyes reflected her own realization. Chen had discovered something crucial. Marcus, what did you do to those crystals? I encoded them with human DNA sequences, living information. The erasers can manipulate data and energy. But life resists them. Before Elena could respond, the air in front of her shimmered. An eraser materialized, or perhaps it would be more accurate to say it partially existed. The being was a contradiction made manifest, simultaneously, there and not there, a void in the shape of something almost humanoid. When it spoke, its voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Commander Elena Vasquez, you will cease to have been. Elena stood her ground. I don't think so. You want to erase humanity's history? You'll have to go through us first. The eraser tilted, what might have been its head. You misunderstand. You will not die. You will never have existed. Your accomplishments will become statistical anomalies, attributed to others. Your species will be remembered only as a cautionary tale of aggressive expansion. That's where you're wrong, Elena said, buying time while Thozak worked frantically behind her. You can erase data. You can manipulate memory, but you can't erase impact. Every life we've saved, every world we've helped, they carry part of us forward. We've already changed the galaxy. The eraser moved closer, reality warping around it. Naive. Watch as your colleague ceases to be. It gestured toward Thozak, but nothing happened. The Rulian continued working, her 6 arms moving in perfect synchronization. The eraser's form flickered with what might have been confusion. Crixtel's voice rang out from behind them. You didn't expect that, did you? The Rulians have genetic memory. Every experience is encoded in their DNA and passed to their offspring. You can't erase her without erasing her entire lineage, and they're spread across 50 worlds. More erasers materialized, surrounding the small group. Elena counted at least 7, more than anyone had ever reported seeing together. Whatever the Covenant feared about humanity, it was enough to deploy unprecedented force. Vexillor's voice crackled over the comm. Commander, I've bought you time, but at cost. My commander is dead, but so am I soon. The honor duel was more challenging than expected. You have 8 hours before the fleet recovers. Vexillor, get to the medical bay, Elena ordered. Negative. Using remaining time to transmit everything to Dominion High Command. They need to know their honor has been stained. Some things matter more than life. Fexler out. The comm went silent. Elena felt rage building. Another friend sacrificed to fear and paranoia. She turned to the lead eraser. You think you're preserving order, but you're destroying the very thing that makes the galaxy worth preserving. Diversity, growth, the unexpected connections between different peoples. Order is survival, the eraser replied. Chaos is extinction. Chaos is creativity. Chen's voice burst through the comm. Commander, I've found it. The memory vault. Elena's heart skipped. The memory vault was a legend, a supposed backup of all human history hidden somewhere in quantum foam. Most believed it was myth. Marcus, are you sure? It's real. The coordinates were hidden in our junk DNA. Every human carries part of the key. That's why they want to erase us completely. As long as even one human survives, the vault can be accessed. The eraser's forms flickered more violently. This was clearly information they hadn't possessed. The lead one moved toward Elena with new urgency. You will reveal the access method. Never, Elena said simply. Thozak suddenly shouted in triumph. It's ready. The gravitational wave encoder is online. Elena didn't hesitate. She slammed her hand on the activation panel. Immediately, the station shuddered as the singularity at its core began to pulse. But instead of random fluctuations, it beat with purpose, sending waves of encoded information spreading through space-time at the speed of light. The erasers rushed forward but stopped as Chen's voice rang out again. Activating Memory Vault upload. Every human achievement, every act of kindness, every innovation freely shared, it's all broadcasting. Elena felt something fundamental shift in the space around them. The erasers were being forced back, not by any physical force, but by the sheer weight of truth being released into the universe. The gravitational waves carried more than data. They carried the essence of human experience. Through her neural implant, Elena could sense the upload. She saw humanity's history not as the Covenant wanted to portray it, but as it truly was. The first human to extend a hand to an alien visitor, despite fear. The colonies that welcomed refugees from dying worlds. The scientists who refused to weaponize their discoveries. The artists who found beauty in alien forms. The children who played with beings their grandparents couldn't have imagined. The galaxy had tried to erase humanity. Instead, humanity had become part of the galaxy's fundamental structure, not through conquest, but through sacrifice, not through domination, but through transformation. The memory keepers had ensured that history would remember not just humanity's name, but the names of all who stood for truth against fear. In the end, that was humanity's greatest victory. Not that they survived, but that they made survival possible for everyone. The waves continued to spread, carrying their message to distant galaxies, to civilizations yet to be born. And in those waves, Elena Vasquez and her team continued their mission, preserving truth, celebrating diversity, and proving that some things, once remembered, could never truly be forgotten. The story of humanity's near erasure became required learning in schools across the galaxy, not as a tale of human superiority, but as a reminder that every species, no matter how different or challenging, had something vital to contribute. The memory keepers had given their lives to preserve that truth, and in doing so had achieved a different kind of immortality. Years later, when young beings of various species asked their elders why humans were treated with such respect despite being relatively new to the galactic community, the answer was always the same. Humanity had faced extinction not for what they had done, but for what they represented: change, growth, the courage to reach across differences. And when that moment came, they chose to save not just themselves, but the truth itself. The galaxy remembered humanity's name not because it was forced to, but because humanity had earned its place in history through sacrifice, courage, and an unshakable belief that all beings deserved to have their stories told. The memory keepers lived on in the gravitational waves, eternal guardians of truth, whispering to anyone who would listen, "We existed. We mattered. We remember you." And so the galaxy turned, richer for its diversity, stronger for its connections, and forever marked by the humans who refused to be erased. History had remembered their names, but more importantly, it remembered their message, that fear should never triumph over hope, that truth would always find a way, and that the bonds between different peoples were the most powerful force in the universe. The erasers, transformed by their encounter with humanity, became the chroniclers, dedicated to preserving and celebrating the stories of all species. They had learned the most human lesson of all, that existence wasn't about perfect order, but about the beautiful chaos of life, growth, and connection. In the end, when the galaxy tried to erase humanity, it only succeeded in making humans unforgettable. And somewhere in the cosmic background radiation, Elena Vasquez and her team continued their eternal vigil, ensuring that history would always remember not just names and dates, but the courage of those who stood up when standing was all that remained.